resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Well, hello, my next level friend. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Artist Next Level podcast. This is a special edition episode in which I am interviewing artists from around the world as they are stuck at home during the coronavirus lockdown. Today, I have with me, all the way from South Africa, artist Ken Stanley. And it's going to be a great episode. We're going to talk about actually slowing down during the lockdown. Hi, Ken. Good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm well, man. I'm well. Thank you so much for having me, Sergio.
No, thank you for being here. And you're joining us all the way from South Africa. I know there's a huge time difference between us and you. Right now, I'm 9 a.m. here, Chicago time. What's the time for you over there?
It's 4 in the afternoon. It's a lovely afternoon here. Sun's out.
Excellent. So you are in the future for me.
Basically, yes.
Very well. We want to chat with you. To see how you've been working as an artist, or what you've been doing during this time, which for you in South Africa has been already like 2 months in almost complete lockdown pretty much. And as some now, you are episode number 41, so it's been exciting. After 40 interviews with artists around the world, how each part of the world is different and how they're working with it. Some places are already starting to get out. Some of them are still in full lockdown. So, you guys are still in lockdown. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, lockdown came in at the end of March. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was still preparing for my solo exhibition that I was going to be having here at the Tate Art Gallery. Mm-hmm. And I was, like anyone preparing for an exhibition, with the stress of creating and everything like that. And when lockdown came into effect, it sort of made it real. We weren't allowed to leave the house. We weren't allowed, sorry about the hardy-dars, birds. I weren't allowed to leave. And that's the point that it became real for me. And I spent weeks after the start of lockdown, sort of really frustrated and really stuck. Creative, because I wasn't able to leave. I wasn't able to create in the way that I was used to. I wasn't able to create what I wanted to create in my head.
Right. And before you continue, sorry to interrupt, but for our friends who do not know your work, you are a photographer, so you rely on going out and shooting, the sets and the people and the settings that you need for your art. So I just kind of want to make that distinction so our friends kind of know why it was very difficult.
Yeah. So I mean, all the elements in my photography, I shoot myself, the subject on location. So the concepts that, I've come up with a bunch of concepts, haven't been able to execute anything. And so I was really frustrated at not being able to leave and to create. Mm-hmm. And I had a long period of introspection where it's actually ironic because running creativity workshops, I like to inspire people to create and see that every act is a creative act.
Right.
And here I am, it really humbled me to remember that I'd forgotten that. Completely it had gone out the window. And I was sort of identified with my creations, And because I wasn't able to create exactly what I wanted to create, it really frustrated me. So I was in a very stagnation stage at the beginning of lockdown. So I think coming back to slowing down, it gave me some time to actually stop and not push what I was wanting to create, because obviously it was out of my hands completely. I couldn't, I couldn't choose to leave the house. It was out of my hands. So I had to create in other ways. And it's really a freeing space to be in when you realize you don't have to create for other people. And I think as artists, we relate to producing. We've got to make. We've got to always be creating, always doing something. If you're not working in your business, working on your business.
Right.
And this time has led to me feeling, what actually am I doing? What sort of creation am I creating? What sort of life am I creating? And it led me to realize that it's all about playing at this point.
Right.
It's not the hard sell of trying to create a product. It's literally about playing. And I feel that that's what I've been doing a lot of recently, is playing and experimenting with different art forms and different genres. And yeah, I mean, it's been really, really, really fun, and really almost like a healing space to be in.
And that's kind of how it sounds as you're describing it, right? Because, and this is kind of like what I find so interesting, you know, after talking with so many artists from all over, it has been a transformation for everybody, but in different ways, right? Like for many artists, for example, if you're a painter and your studio's at home, you know, they're like, well, I'm just spending more time, you know, in the studio when I already have everything here. So, but for others like yourself, you know, it's a completely different game, because you depend on sets, on going out, on doing this thing. So now when you're in full confinement, you know, you have that pressure. How do I continue doing that? Or like you said, you know, coming to a realization like, well, maybe I don't need to push that or put that on myself, you know, besides whatever thing that's happening in the world. Then you add that to yourself, that pressure of having to produce, right? Then, like you said, more open to play, which pretty much is just giving yourself permission to experiment and to create with that. And I think particularly in your case, Kerry, because you had that show coming up, right? So there's a lot of pressure of a solo show.
Wow. I mean, I was waking up at 2:00 in the morning stressing about it. So like at the beginning of the year, the coronavirus wasn't even on the radar. You know, I wasn't worried about that at all. So it was only when we went into lockdown that it became real, and I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that actually I commented right before we went live here on the video is like, it feels like, you know, when we look at this and we said, you know, we can't believe we are living through this. It's like, well, it's almost like going into one of your artworks. Can you describe a little bit of the work that you create?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I like to, in my artwork, create a safe space for the viewer to sort of immerse themselves into. But the work itself deals with the sort of the inner landscapes of human consciousness, the deeper layers, the subtler layers, the deeper dimensions, you know, of being human, the things that we all experience. I mean, some people have described my work as very melancholic, quite dark. And I think, you know, especially in this time, we're all going through something like death, for instance. That's a very morbid subject for most people, but it's something that is universal. And like the coronavirus, it's universal. This is something that we're all experiencing. So I think there is that sort of dreamlike nature or dreamlike feel in my work that is sort of reflected in the collective space now that we're feeling, where, is this even real? Is this possible? Wow. Right. You know? So I like to have that come through in my work, and it's actually, it's been very, very a creative space that I've been in. So the frustrations come in where I'm not able to leave, but that's actually gotten a lot better recently. You know, where I'm just allowing myself.
Yeah, and I was looking at, you know, in your work, most of the pieces are a single person or sometimes two, but you know, usually like, so if it does feel like a person who's dreaming or kind of going into another subconscious level of ourselves, and with a sort of eeriness of not sure if is it real or not, right? And that's kind of how the world feels right now. So tell me also, you know, as we go through this and eventually, you know, you will be able to go out and start kind of conducting your work as you used before. Do you think like this time will also in some way inform the work that you were doing before? Would you think you'll be going back to something like that, or would you think that you'll be going in a completely different direction?
You know, it's weird. I was actually asked that question recently as well, because the work that I'm sort of creating now looks completely different in feel and mood compared to what I was creating. So I feel that this sort of time of lockdown has definitely led to a space of evolution. So I think, yes, I will go back, but it won't be the same what I'm going back to exactly, you know. So it'll be incorporating elements from what I used to create and amalgamating it into sort of what I'm creating now. Whereas before it was more surreal photography, manipulation, compositions. It's more collage now. But to mix the two, what the future holds is amazing. I can't wait.
Exactly. I think it's a surprise for everybody, including the work that we are creating. And I think, for sure too, everyone who's a creative individual as we're going through this, it will affect what we do on the other side. So tell me about the solo show that you had planned. Has been postponed for now, or, what's the story of it?
It has been postponed, luckily. Just before lockdown, I had a meeting with them because there was talk about, I had a meeting with the curator because there was talk in the government about locking down. We weren't too sure. So I had a feeling that something may happen, but I wasn't really buying into it at that stage. Yeah. And they agreed to say, well, look, we don't know what's going to happen. So we will postpone it to maybe the end of this year, maybe next year. But the lockdown has continued, so we don't know what's going to happen. But it will happen at some point.
It will happen.
Probably next year.
And it will be interesting to look back at that work after all that we have gone through, because, when you were preparing for the show, that it was fresh. Now that this period of recess, in between. And now I think it will be really interesting for you as an artist to look back at your work from a different perspective, different point of view.
Definitely. There's always that space to see your work through a lens or a different perspective, Exactly. So that's going to be really interesting.
Well, Ken, you've been so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your work. We have been looking at some of your pieces as we had this conversation. Where can our friends find you on social media, and also what's your website?
Well, I'm on the internet at imcare.com, and Facebook at Ken Stanley, and Instagram, same handle. On all the good social networks, and Twitter as well. I'm also on Twitter, Ken Stanley Art.
Okay, so awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ken. Thank you for being with us here today. We enjoy. Thank you, man. Thank you. We enjoy your work. We enjoy this conversation. And please, our friends, go and check out Ker's on social media. Visit his website. Take a look at his work. Reach out to him. Reach out to me. Please share this episode with your friends. That will make us really, really happy. Have a great day.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.